Uncompetitive. Good morning, good sir. How are you? You are first. Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Lincoln Klay, the godfather of gaming, the ageless wonder. You know what to do. Hit the like button, hit the bell icon. The rest will take care of itself. If you are a new subscriber, welcome aboard. I hope you are enjoying the content. And today starts the first day of a new podcast called Live from Wakanda, as I go over the past week's events and give my impressions on the week that was in news. From there, you respond, you give me your thoughts, and we'll talk about those subjects. And there, boy, oh boy, has there been a lot of news this week. Fatal Charade, what is up? Also, since we are live from Wakanda, I thought I'd probably start the show off every week doing a line from the show. So, and in keeping with that, we have watched and listened from the mountain, and we discuss as your technological advances are overseen by a child who scoffs at tradition. And now you want to hand nation over to this prince who couldn't keep his own father safe. We will not have it. I say we will not have it. There you go. I want to start the show off like that and do a line from the Black Panther movie every week, since I love that movie so much. One of the greatest movies ever, superhero otherwise. And so, and as I said before, I will do this show every Sunday morning, give or take around this time, whenever I wake up. And I actually got up at about 7 o'clock this morning, did some Beat Saber to get my cardio in, and went back to sleep. Squash Potato, how are you? And as I said before, I will do this podcast every Sunday morning until Sick Humor returns. Once he returns, if this weekly podcast, Reclaimer, how you doing? If this turns out to be a hit with viewers, then I will continue with this podcast. We'll just have to move it to a time where it doesn't interfere with the PlayStation Plus podcast. So, Sick Humor, if you're listening, man, what's going on, bro? Do what you got to do, man. Keep making that money, man, and we'll see you when you get back. And and I'm getting ready to send out an invite here. And that's if Sick Huber comes back. After watching so many of Sick Humor's podcasts, Fatal Charade, the man is passionate about gaming. I'm friends with him on the PlayStation as well. And I looked at his trophy, his trophy display case, if you want to put it that way. And the man has 200 and some odd platinum trophies. I don't even have one. If that's not a gamer, you have to put in some serious hours into a game to get the platinum trophies. Just one. I don't even have that many gold trophies as it is. J-Dog, what do you think about this new third rudder foot controller for PSVR? All right, Skyfall Gaming. J-Dog, if you are you mentioning this? I think it's some kind of, I can't really remember. I think it's a controller where you put your feet on the ground. You're sitting down, but you're using your feet to move. So it's supposed to simulate you moving, what have you. If that's the controller you're talking about, it would add another layer of realism and immersion to the game. So I wouldn't have a problem with it if it's reasonably priced. Give me a moment, people. I'm going to send a link to one Mr. Craig Harris. Let's see here. All right, paste. There you go, Mr. Harris. The link has been sent. You know the proper flight pattern. You have the coordinates. We will see you. My guards will await you at Sector 21. And I will have the Royal Kitchen prepare a huge breakfast for us. So, say squash potato. Lincoln, check this out. What is that you would like me to check out, squash potato? And so while you let me know what you want me to check out, I've got about, over the past week's events, I've got about 8 subjects that I want to talk about. You know, this actually, I think there was way more news than that. That's just the news that I could think of off the top of my head. What I should have really been doing is, you know, I have in my old phone, I have a journal in my own phone, Black Panther drawing. Squash potato, you want to send that to me, that drawing to me at Twitter. And if the here, let me whoops. All righty. Okay, squash potato. That right there is my Twitter. Send me the picture. DM me directly and send me the picture at Twitter. You know, and you know, hell, you know, if you don't mind, I'll use it. I'll use it as a picture for one of my podcasts. You know, I'll use it as a profile picture. So, but yes, there was a lot of news this past week. Ice Queen Gaming, please forgive me. How are you? There was a lot of news this week, and like I said, you know, in my older phone, I had a journal, and I used to, you know, put notes in that phone as the news happened. But with this new phone, I have not downloaded the app to that journal yet. So I was not able to keep up with the week's news. So it was a case of when I got up this morning, I was just trying to remember everything off the top of my head when I know there's way more, you know, news than that. But like I said, this is going to be a podcast based on the past week's event. I, you know, talk about one of the things that I think made headlines this week. I give you my opinion on it, and you guys give me the feedback on what you think. Ice Queen Gaming, good to hear that you're a lot better. That's good news. Good to hear that. So let's start with the first piece of news that I can think of off the top of my head, which this news is well over a week old, but I still wanted to talk about it. And that was, you know, Soulja Boy waved the white flag and pretty much folded the tent on him trying to sell these consoles. You know, we kind of, in my opinion, I kind of knew this was going to happen. But the reason why it's news to me is the way YouTubers that were lobbying for him to go to jail, you know, and I won't have a problem calling out their names. And speaking of Dreamcast guy, Review Tech USA, you know, Spawn Wave, he claims, you know, he claims that he wasn't lobbying for Soulja Boy to go to jail, that he was just reporting the news, which I don't really believe that, you know. I think I saw a couple of lines, you know, where he was, you know, giving his opinion on the whole situation. Mr. Pio, what up, Mr. Pump at the gym? Get your pump in. So anyway, once Soulja Boy waved the white flag about this, about him having to, you know, shut the council down, there was celebration everywhere. And I mean, you know, Review Tech put out a video acting like he was happy as a cricket. Dreamcast guy, you know, his was borderline. Spawn Wave, you know, he kind of said that he knew this was going to happen, but at the same time tried to cover his tracks and say that, you know, he never lobbied for him to go to jail, that he was just, you know, stating the news at that. And again, I don't really believe that. I think he was another one of the people that was lobbying for Soulja Boy to go to jail. acting as if he wanted him to go to jail. I think this, like this Soldier Boy situation, it almost felt like the OJ trial of video gaming. I never seen such outrage over something that I think didn't really affect anybody. Either you buy the counsel or you don't. If he was going to be sued, if he was going to be sent to prison, that was between Soldier Boy, the parties that would sue him, and the authorities. It didn't have anything to do with us. So I think as content creators, I think it was our obligation to report the news and leave it at that, instead of letting our personal opinions get involved, because that influences subscribers. So with those guys mentioning that, and RGT as well, there was a lot others, lobbying for him to go to jail. With those guys screaming for Soldier Boy to be stopped, lobbying for him to go to jail, I think it influenced their viewers. And now, it was like Soldier Boy, for a moment, he was public enemy number one within the gaming community. And I never, this stuff was so crazy, the negativity building up towards Soldier Boy, and people lobbying for him to go to jail. I felt like if anybody would have doxed him, a lynch mob would have showed up at his house and burned his house down. It was crazy. Jason Elliott, what's up? Jamal King, Skyfall Gaming, how you doing? So I had never seen anything like this, and I said it before. And how can you defend Info Paradise but want Soldier Boy locked up? Yeah, there's definitely a lot of hypocrisy going on out there. Fatal Charade, where they were lobbying for Soldier Boy to get locked up, but they were sitting there, turning a blind eye to other bullshit that was going on within the industry. And so I've said it before in previous podcasts, people were acting like Soldier Boy was, OJ Simpson, reincarnated part 2. They acted like he killed somebody and he's still running around free. And they acted like, we won't rest until this guy is behind bars. And so once he finally got locked up, it was like, celebration everywhere. And I'm like, man, it's not that serious. Just say that he withdrew, that he pretty much gave up selling this counsel. He's done. He admitted, he said, I got to boss up, and he shut it down. It should have been left at that. But they were celebrating as if, hey, we finally got him. Like, this murderously bloody Soldier Boy has finally been caught. He's finally going to get justice. He's finally going to be locked up for life. It was crazy the way they acted. Review Tech USA, he was called out on Twitter by J-Dub and other people as well on Twitter, and he went on the defense, swearing up and down that race had nothing to do with why he was lobbying for Soldier Boy to go to jail, that what he was doing was illegal, but yet he I believe that he had endorsed knockoff products himself, as well as Dreamcast guy. So he was going to put out a video trying to state his case that he wasn't racist, that he was just going to lay the facts down in black and white. What he is doing is as to what exactly he was doing that was illegal. But that video never came out. And then, like I said, here we are. He had to shut it down. Him and Dreamcast guy, not only, were they celebrating, they pretty much acted like they feel vindicated now. That the way they were acting about lobbying for him to get locked up, it had nothing to do with race or dislike towards the man. It was just, now they feel vindicated that, okay, we were right, so the way they were celebrating is just, it was unreal. And there's a lot of other stuff going on, but, they're turning a blind eye to. So that's my take on that. I think it's a hypocrisy at its finest. Said, just go back to my point earlier. Review Tech was one of those guys defending emulation sites when Nintendo was going after him. Yeah, exactly. And there's like, I can't even keep up with all of the hypocrisy these guys have done. Promoting knockoff products, promoting these emulation sites, as you say. The stuff that these guys, these are guys, especially Review Tech. He's definitely a person that's trying to make money. When I first subscribed to him, I think he had a job, and he put out a video asking people that he was telling people that he had come to a point where he wanted to be able to do YouTube full time. But in order for that to happen, he needed viewer support. And so what he was asking for people was he was asking for $1 a month donation into his Patreon. And at the time that he asked for this donation, he had I think he had roughly close to 400,000 subs. So I looked at that and I was like, shit, you get $1,000, you get $1 a month from nearly 400,000 subs. That's that's $400,000 a month. I wouldn't work either if I had that kind of money coming in. So at that point, when he made that video, I didn't know how YouTube worked in terms of people putting out content in order to get views and likes. So I didn't really think anything of it when he was asking for Patreon money. You see, Jamal Fatal Sharad. Oh, okay, you're talking to Jamal King. Jason Elliott. I was downloading those ROMs from said sites long before anyone gave a damn. Exactly, but it looked funny because here's this ghetto looking hip hop dude endorsing these knockoff products, and now they losing their mind. But the next subject I come to, it'll come back to that. It'll come back to the Soldier Boy situation. So back to Review Tech asking for Patreon money. When I first thought about it, at first I thought that was a good thing because he could devote his life to YouTube and put out compelling content. He would have the time he needs to sit down and make quality videos. That's what I was thinking at the time because I was still relatively new to YouTube's in terms of subscribing to gaming channels. So I didn't know back then that the YouTubers that have subscribers in the hundreds of thousands are just saying shit for clicks and likes and and money, whereas YouTubers that have 3,000 or less subscribers are speaking from the heart. And so as time went on, I started to realize that, Review Tech was saying things that I think he was saying things that was going to get him Patreon money, that he wasn't really giving his opinion. He wasn't speaking from the heart. He was just trying to, he's trying to get that YouTube money. So the way I am now, YouTubers that have 1 million subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, I don't even bother with them. The ones that I'm already subscribed to, like Young, and I think maybe the Quartering, I'll still listen to them. Which a lot of times they do report the news, and a lot of times their opinions align with the way I think is, so I stay subscribed to them, but other YouTubers that's got like 1 million subscribers, no, I don't even bother with them because I know they're just trying to get money. So they're going to say whatever it takes to get money. Let's see, Jamal King, let's see here. Said, what's your thought about DLC characters from Smash Brothers Ultimate? I haven't even played this game yet, so I have to assume that must be the conversation that you're having with Fatal Sharad. And said once they have a certain number of subscribers, they only start, start only making moves and videos once they get money to do it. Yeah, definitely. And then when they take it a step further and start talking about these different tiers of Patreon, which I'm not really familiar with, but I mean, the bottom line is it pretty much, it pretty much sounds like, hold on. Lost my train of thought because I got a couple of alerts. There you go, Squash Potato. I have followed you back. So if you want to send me that Black Panther drawing, I would love to see it. So, back to what I was saying about these YouTubers and this Patreon money. So long and short of it, that's what they do. They just say shit that's going to get them money. And then that's what I was going to say. I was talking about the different tiers, how they, pretty much almost acting like publishers, hiding content behind paywalls. And, the more money you pay, the more access you have to this content that's behind paywalls. And so I definitely do not want to go down that road. Garuda Legends, yes, we are live from Wakanda, and this is the show, the Sunday morning show where we do a recap of everything that happened during the week, and we'll talk about it. And so we were just talking about the Soulja Boy situation, how these YouTubers that was calling for his head, celebrated and act like they were throwing a fucking parade once he decided to shut it down. Spotting God, Wakanda is a beautiful city. So let's move on to my next subject that I'd like to talk about. And let me just double check something first. Holy smokes. Craig, Mr. Harris, my deepest apologies. I sent the link, but I think I sent the link to the PlayStation Plus podcast when I meant to send it to you directly. I've caught that because I was wondering how come you hadn't arrived yet. And so I was going to send a scout ship out to find you and see what happened. The link is in I DM'd you a link now. So if you're still coming, we will see you when you arrive. Again, you have the proper flight pattern and coordinates, and we will see you when you arrive at Wakanda. So moving on to the next subject. Jake Paul and Rice Gum promote a gambling site that's targeted at kids. And when I first saw this headline, I've never heard of Rice Gum, so I really didn't think of anything of it. But when Jake Paul's name was tied into that, my thought was that, okay, what else is new? This dude and his brother, they're a couple of clowns. It looks like they'll do some stupid ass, Pauly Shore type shit to get clicks, to get likes, to get money. Now I've never really watched any of their videos, to tell you the truth. When people speak out against these guys, they'll show a clip. Well, I'll get the rice. I'll get the Rice Gum in a minute here, finish Rod. But the Paul brothers, to me, on the outside looking in, to me, they look like a couple of nerds. They had a few videos that were probably shocking, and it made them a ton of money, and now they acting like rock stars, so that's the way I viewed these guys on the outside looking in. And I think how disrespectful can you be when you go into a forest with a camera in a forest where people go to take their lives, and you make a video out of it, make jokes and that kind of stuff. How despicable can you be? But YouTube did not. I don't think they did not address these guys the way they should have been addressed. They should have been suspended, in my opinion. But after the PewDiePie situation, where they pretty much did not do anything about him, it became apparent to me that if you are a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers, that if you do some shit that rubs people the wrong way, YouTube isn't going to do anything about it. I think at most you'll probably get a PR statement from them saying that they're going to look into it, and that's probably where it's going to end. So the situation with this gambling site targeted towards kids, the Quartering is the only YouTuber that I've seen that reported on it. And he was the only YouTuber that sounded disgusted by it. Nobody else has said anything. I haven't seen any YouTubers, Dreamcast guy, Review Tech, Spawnwave. I haven't seen any of those guys say anything about this crap. And so naturally, since nobody's talking about it, there's no outrage. You know, the Quartering was the only person who talked about it. He was the only person that was outraged by it. So I'm wondering, you know, as Sick Humor would put it, I'm wondering where that same energy was. That same energy that everybody had, that same energy they had towards wanting to get Soulja Boy locked up. I'm not seeing this energy with Jake Paul. You know, Mod Razi, I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably did speak on it. But out of the people that I'm subscribed to, the Quartering, he's the one that stood out. And I'm subscribed to about 60, 70 people. And out of all those people that I'm subscribed to, his was the only one where he spoke against it and he was outraged by it. You know, and but when it came to this Soulja Boy stuff, Review Tech, Dreamcast guy, and I throw Spawnwave and RGT, those guys made the biggest noise about Soulja Boy. But you got this guy, you got these two nerds promoting a gambling site targeted at kids. And gambling is a serious situation because the gambling is a slippery slope. You know, that's something where people get a gambling problem, get a gambling addiction. If these, you know, some of these kids that are watching these videos, you know, 20 years from now going to have families and they haven't gotten rid of that that gambling addiction, it could ruin families. It can destroy families. Because, you know, a gambling habit isn't as bad as a drug habit, but it still destroys families. So, Jemiah Dixon, thank you so much. Hit the like button for my boys' first Wakanda podcast. Thank you so much, my friend. And I'm wondering where that same outrage is, where that same energy is towards Jake Paul and Rice Gum. And so, the Quartering did another video because I guess apparently Rice Gum acted like he was upset that PewDiePie and some other high-profile YouTubers called him out for promoting this gambling site. And the dude sounds like a slick, not even slick. The dude just sounds like a fast-talking used car salesman. I'm telling you, I'm not playing. This is 2019. I'm not playing. You know, they're throwing me in the same thing with Jake Paul. I don't want to even be associated with those guys. Those guys took money, and well, they told me that all I had to do was open a couple of boxes and I get paid for it. You know, he went from saying that those guys were bad for taking the money. I wouldn't take the money. Then he turned around and said that, okay, I thought that, you know, my manager just told me I had to open a couple of boxes and I get paid. That kind of shit, you know. So he was trying to be a slick talker, but he was not slick at all. The dude looked like the type of person that if he ran a used car lot, every one of those cars would have oil leaking under the bottom of them. You know, he was not slick at all. I think the dude was a fucking nerd. I think he looked like another Jake Paul that, you know, he's got about 10 million subscribers, got some YouTube money. Now he's acting like a rock star. You know, I guess JP Local PewDiePie still is relevant. I guess there's a contest between him and some other YouTuber where they're fighting it out to try to get the most subscribers. So according, this comes from my son, you know, my 12-year-old son. And according to my son, I guess PewDiePie is approaching like 80 million subs. So shit, you know. And there's a change in pressure within the dome. And I've just been alerted by my guards that we have a visitor. Welcome, Mr. Harris. Welcome to Wakanda. It is good to have you back.
Well, thanks for having me again. Lovely city, Wakanda here.
Yes. And so this is my first Wakandan broadcast. And in this podcast, I've taken notes of the week's past events, and I'm giving my opinion on them. I've taken down about notes on about 8 events, and I've covered the first 2. And the first 2 subjects that I talked about was Soldier Boy. Once he decided to go ahead and shut it down, YouTubers were celebrating and acting like they were throwing a parade that O.J. Simpson was finally locked up. That's the way I looked at that. And then the Jake Paul Rice Gum situation, where they are promoting a gambling site that's targeting kids, and I don't see the same outrage towards those guys that we saw towards Soldier Boy. And so I gave my 2 cents on that. What would you think of those 2 situations?
Well, I think there's a lot more going on with Soldier Boy than people are going to be willing to admit. I mean, I know that's not the kind of podcast that this is, but yeah, there's you're not going to get what you want because of what you look like. So that's a old adage from a Tribe Called Quest years ago. But yeah, it's just that not Tribe Called Quest. So I think KRS-One was speaking on some stuff, and he was talking about that. So he, yeah, I mean the fact that it's fake outrage. I guess that's what it's called. And yeah, he had something that they did not have, and they got upset with that. And they hide it. They think they're slick about it because they hide it behind, well, it's illegal. But at the same time, this other stuff's going on. Where's your outrage? Yeah, all you can do is just not sub to them. I always say that to people. People talk about other YouTubers on my podcast and in the chat, and I'm like, look, I don't sub to them. I mean, it's the best way to. I don't have to worry about listening to them because I don't sub to them. So, yeah, the Richard Review text and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, he got started he was kind of at the beginning of the whole console generation, but he very rarely reviews tech. I mean, I'm not here to say that he doesn't, but there have been, for the most part, he doesn't review tech at all. So, but I quit listening to him years ago, years ago. So, so I could care less what he thinks. Yeah, but if Soldier Boy is not going to do something, then that's on him. He's a grown man, even though he calls himself Soldier Boy.
Yeah, this is true. And as far as Review Tech USA, he's definitely not a gamer because I don't think I've seen not one single game stream come out of him when I had subscribed to it. So,
yeah, and it's not that what he does isn't, because I know he's been on some major panels, for video gaming and stuff like that. But he doesn't review tech. I'm not seeing him do any. I see more performance reviews on tech from everything from new cameras to graphics cards and stuff like that. I don't see him reviewing. I don't see him reviewing stereo equipment. He's a tech guy. Where's your review? So, but it is what it is. It is what it is. They are who they are. So,
okay. So before we move on to the next subject, I want to respond to JP Loco in the comment section. He said the Wakandan fruit tastes weird. Is that normal? JP Loco, you may have gotten hold of some fruit that was forbidden. It could have been fruit that could have been sprinkled with the heart-shaped herb that could give a person the power of the Black Panther. So if we see you jumping all over the place, jumping over buildings and those kind of things, we may have to send a Wakandan task force after you to bring you in and have the heart-shaped herb removed from your system.
Which they changed for the movie. The heart-shaped herb was supposed to be something that was genetic. Like if anybody else drank it or absorbed it, it was only going to make them sick. But they changed it in the movie, so they made it where anybody could do it. So
yeah, so that's the one thing that did kind of raise an eyebrow with me with the movie, because if the heart-shaped herb give anyone who takes it the power of the Black Panther, then Wakandans have to be fiercely loyal. But I don't care how loyal your people are. There's going to be some bad apples in the group. So definitely there would have been somebody that would have stole some of those heart-shaped herbs.
Yeah.
And then would have tried to come back and challenge T'Challa for the mantles of Black Panther and King.
Yeah, I've always thought that's kind of where and again they retconned it, and Ryan Coogler did this fantastic job, but they retconned it, but it should have and Killmonger has been Black Panther in the comic book, but he didn't have any power. He was already overpowered in the comic book. They already gave him something. They gave him certain powers in the comic book. So, but again, that's just the way it was. They changed it, and that's fine. It worked. It worked for the story. And but we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of like Aquaman. It's how did Mira survive on the surface? And according to the comics, they can't. You know, so what are your rules? You know, so but it's just stuff like that. You know, stuff like that I catch. That's why I'm like, man, this movie's not that good. It's not, you know, but they do give the director and the writers, you know, liberty on certain things.
So, yeah, I don't know why they do that sometimes with these superhero movies, why they make something that's nowhere near accurate, you know, from the comic book. You know, I think with the like the Thor movie, the part that was accurate was that he killed a giant. He killed an ice giant, and that pretty much set off a war between Jotunheim and Asgard. And as punishment for killing the ice giant, Odin, you know, sent him to Earth, and he was supposed to perform some tasks down on Earth. You know, once he completed these tasks, he would be allowed back into Asgard, you know, full time. And so, and hence I believe that's where he takes on the mortal form of Donald Blake, the lame physician. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, which they did say they did have that in one of the like short comedic takes that they did. It had his name as Donald Blake or something like that. People are like, well, who was that? It's kind of like you just want to smack yourself across the face. It's like
when Jane Foster, which in the movie she's an archaeologist in the movie, but in the comic books she's Donald Blake's nurse.
Yeah,
and but in that movie when they were trying to put some clothes on him so he would fit in and look like a normal person, I think there was a jacket that had Donald Blake's name on it. So
yeah,
I think that would be the comedy skit that you might be talking about.
Yeah, they kind of did a thing. I was like, man, this is silly. So
yeah,
but yeah. Now, what was your next topic? I'm here for a little bit. I may get a knock on the door. They're supposed to come and clean my carpets today.
Okay.
So,
cool. But yeah, would you do throw up all over the floor?
No, I do it once a year. I schedule it. I always schedule it in January. So this is they said they could come. They couldn't come yesterday because they were booked. I'm like, well, can you come Sunday? And I was thinking they were going to say no. And he said, yeah, we can be there Sunday morning. And I said, all right. So that's cool.
Okay. So for my next topic, Activision loses 2 CFOs in 1 week. The first one being Spencer Newman, which, you know, technically he was fired for, you know, because he was poached by Netflix. In simple terms, he was fraternizing with Netflix. He was about to take a job at Netflix, which it has been officially confirmed. I think it has been officially announced that he took a position within Netflix, but Activision fired him because it was a violation of the contract that he was not supposed to talk to anybody else about a job while he was under contract with Activision. So they fired him. From what I'm guessing is from what I'm kind of hearing, they fired him so they could avoid, you know, giving him severance pay and that kind of stuff, you know, trying to avoid giving him a care package on the way out the door. Then another CFO, she has a weird name, but is a woman. She is leaving to take a CFO position or something like that with Square. And so Gamer Lives Matter, what is up? So the reason why I chose that as a subject, because if this is not a sign of rats jumping off of a sinking ship, I don't know what is.
Well, what's the number one thing people always make at the end of the year when the ball drops? Get a new job. It's the number one thing people say, I'm going to get my job or blah, blah, blah. But they've been probably working on those jobs for a while. And the other ones was to lose weight. But they probably were looking to get out of those jobs. The one CFO, you said, just making a lateral move, going to Square. So, and the other one went to Netflix, and that thing's booming. But they need a good CFO in there because Disney is about to pull all their stuff off of it. So this for people that don't know, Disney's going to pull all their stuff off. So it doesn't matter if you got Netflix or Prime or whatever. Disney stuff's coming off.
Oh, so this guy's definitely going to have to come up with some material.
Yeah. So this guy, so they need somebody who can get in there. And but the gaming jobs, those are fluid. I would have never thought Peter Moore would have left Microsoft. I think he wasn't in charge of Microsoft's gaming for a little bit.
Yeah, but he was But he was the one that pulled the plug on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, he also did that too. So, but I think Dreamcast had a number that they were supposed to sell, and they didn't sell that many. So he was going to get axed anyway. Shareholders said, "Yeah, we'll do this. We have the funding, but you have to bring back this much money to us." And he didn't do it. Even though we all hardcore guys loved it. The Dreamcast was out, but was the PS1 or PS2 out at the same time? There was like 4 systems out. I know I would go to the video game store, and the Nintendo had stuff out, and Dreamcast had stuff out, and PS1 or PS2 was out. There was all these Neo Geo, I think, was out. So because I had a Neo Geo. So
okay.
But yeah.
So my take on Activision losing these 2 CFOs. In the midst of their stocks plummeting, I think 2019, I've said this before in previous podcasts, previous videos, I think 2019 is going to be a year where some of these publishers are going to have to decide who means more to them, the investors or the consumers that buy the product, because we've reached the point where they can't have it both ways because they've gotten way too greedy and way too egregious with these microtransactions. And so we've reached the point where if they put too many microtransactions in these games to try to appease shareholders, you're going to drive off consumers. If you take your foot off these people's necks with these microtransactions, and you back up off these microtransactions a little bit, stocks are going to the value of the stock appears to go down, and shareholders are going to pull out. So. It sounds like a rock in a hard spot.
Well, they'll always choose their shareholders. I mean, it's just, those are the people that they actually answer to. The shareholders really don't know gaming. They just know they're invested. They're on the board. And, for the most part, they're just looking to get higher returns on their investments. And, that's what I want for AMD. I bought AMD when the market was down. I bought more AMD stock, so I fully expect AMD stock to shoot up tomorrow because they're announcing new product. So I expect my returns to come back, but as a shareholder, but I'm not on the board or anything like that. But it's just they're going to always choose the shareholders, and I don't have a problem with microtransactions as long as they're cosmetic. I understood their. It's that they look at Fortnite, they look at all these other games that are making billions. The game is free. I can download the game for free, but they make the money off the microtransaction, and they see that those guys at Epic and those men and women are flushed in cash, and they're not. They're like, well, we got all these games out, and y'all not making the same amount of money. They don't understand. They don't collate the thing. They just see the money.
Without a doubt. I also wanted to say that is to these publishers, they release these public statements claiming that, I'm hearing this narrative that they have to put microtransactions into these games to appease shareholders.
Yeah.
And I think that might be true to an extent, but I call bullshit when it's to the extent that they have to put egregious pay to win microtransactions in there. When you're hearing about high-ranking officials getting big payouts before they leave the company, example was Patrick Soderlund, who had just got $20 million before they kicked him out of there.
Yeah, golden parachute. That's in their contracts. That's what it's called. It's called a golden parachute. Yeah, it's in their contract. You're going to get rid of me. Here's my golden parachute. Just imagine what Bob Iger's is at Disney. He's the CEO and chairman of the board. So he's got a golden parachute. If he leaves, and he's going to leave in 2021, I think, because he wants to run for president. So I think he goes in 2021, but he's going to have a golden parachute. And that's just the way they are. They don't care about the gain and the entry. All they care about is when they come in for their board, for their meetings, it's like, okay, what is the projection of said investment? And if you made a game and you're overperforming, They're gonna be like, oh, we'll get Lincoln on in here. Let's give him a pat on the back and make sure he gets a good parking place and give him a company car. But that's if they've invested in your product. They're gonna be the man of the hour. But if you do the same thing and you underperform, he's gonna be like, get him out of here. Where's security at? That's just the way they work. It's all about them making money. Unfortunately, the smaller that's why I always say support smaller companies. The company that makes Life is Strange, support that company. Buy their stuff because they're the guys who did Unraveled. I think Unraveled was made by an independent developer. So just stuff like that. Buy those games, even if you get them on the cheap. Buy the game. So.
Uncompetitive. This Bob Eager you're talking about. Unfortunately, I have never heard of him. But this is something that was a statement that Craig just made. So, I mean, whoever's running for president, anybody's better than Trump, as far as I'm concerned. So, so moving on to the next subject, we know that, analysts have been saying that the big companies, Microsoft and Sony, will reveal their consoles this year in 2019. Well, duh, that's a given, especially from my standpoint, being that I'm sticking to my guns that the PS5 is going to come out in November of 2019. So that's a foregone conclusion that they're going to reveal it in 2019. I expect us to get something from, I expect us to get some kind of reveal from Sony before E3. Now, Microsoft, I think, when we get a reveal from them, anyway, where I'm going with this is that both Microsoft and Sony revealing their consoles in 2019 is a foregone conclusion. What I don't understand is why everybody act like it was breaking news when the analyst said it.
It's just a prediction.
But
that's how everybody.
We all make predictions, but but I can make a prediction myself, and and then you have other YouTubers talking about, well, I don't make predictions. I talk about the facts, this kind of stuff. And then as soon as an analyst say it, then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, you better, put your money on what this guy said. Yeah.
Well, it's I don't know why. I don't know what makes an analyst an analyst. Shout out to Foxy Games. He said he's going to actually look into what makes an analyst an analyst. So, but
in my opinion, they speculate. The difference is, just like I speculate. The difference is they get paid for it.
Yeah, that's the truth. People have asked me about those consoles, and I'm like, look, it's just. I understand why the Xbox community, they want to go ahead and they just want this to be over. They want this part of the generation to be over. So I understand why they are just doing rampant speculation and clickbait videos. I'm more surprised about the Sony people because they've still got major titles coming out. One's coming out next Friday in the Jet game. That's coming out.
Ace Combat?
Yeah, Ace Combat's coming. Ghost of Tsushima.
Yep.
I mean, MLB The Show, Ghost of, and Days Gone all have release dates before May. That to me, this is just my opinion, is more important than a PS5 because yes, to the Xbox community, they're worried about the power set. They're worried about as far as how's it going to perform up against to the PS5, and it's like. Even though Fox has said, hey, they're going to both do the same thing, and he's got major insiders at the Sony thing, and, I've tried to be honest and say, look, they're going to do the exact same thing, but I don't know what else is left, except, it's a group of people who wants to get on and do a fanboy fight.
Okay. All right. Gamer Lives Matter. Hey, thanks for joining us on your breaks. We definitely appreciate it.
Hey, take it easy, brother. Have a good one, Gamer Lives Matter.
Yep. Sorry about that, Craig. So if you wanted to continue about this analyst thing.
Yeah. I don't understand why people are so hard up on when I've never seen anything like it before. When Sony walks out there on a stage, you'll get a general announcement probably, and they will say hardware announcement. When you see that, then you can say, then I would start speculating maybe this is the PS5. That's it. That's the only way I would speculate on it because if they announce it in at the end of the year. It won't be out till next year. So and that's what I think it'll be out is in 2020. Like I said, I think summer of 2020 they actually unveil it with the price at E3 next year. I think they go back to E3 next year, and then it's a big deal. It's we own the night type of thing. Everybody's going to be talking about it. So, and that's what they want to create. It's all this momentum. So they want to create all this momentum. I think my carpet cleaning people might be here.
Okay.
So.
If you want to take a minute to check on that, I just had another subject that I want to add to this. By the time we reach this subject, you'll probably be gone. But if you want to take a minute to see if those guys arrive.
Yeah. All right, hold on.
Like a newscaster, actually writing these notes down on paper.
Nope, wasn't them.
Okay, so you put a check mark next to that, so we go past those subjects. Okay, so the next subject is the Mad Box is coming. It is supposed to be coming in a few years, and they claim that it will be the most powerful console. It will offer a competitive price. It will support VR at 120 frames per second.
Cool.
The design stage is already over with this console. I guess they are supposedly in talks with companies to manufacture this console. And I guess this is coming from the developers of Project Cars 2 or something. So my take on that is that, I don't know if this will materialize or not. People are saying that it's probably going to be another scam, some go kick me, whatever, kick me shit. That is probably going to be another scam. I don't know if it's going to be another scam or not, but if it turns out to materialize, if it turns out to be true, I would definitely welcome it because I think the more consoles we have out there, the more competition it creates. And I think, I don't know what it would do, especially, if Google gets involved and we have this Mad Box come along, if Sega should decide to get back into the console space. I don't know what it might do in terms of alleviating microtransactions because that's a third-party thing. But I still think the more consoles that are out there, the better because it will create more competition. And, and since Sony puts out the content that I find the most compelling right now, I think it will keep them grounded and I think it would keep them from getting super, super arrogant.
Yeah, well, I think the Mad Box, they're looking for investors on that. They don't have anything locked in or anything. I can say I'm gonna make the world's most powerful console. But there's nobody locked in. I think they were just talking about this. Shout out to RGT. We were talking about this on Friday night. It's like there's no investors behind it yet. That doesn't mean there won't be. We're in Q, we're still in Q4 of 18. So maybe Q1 of 19 they get some investors. But all you can do is tell an investor they may have something made, like built up and ready to go. And they're like, well, we can mass produce this with your help. But I'm waiting to see if they actually do something. So I have to wait and see. I guess they can put Project Cars on there exclusively. Don't they make Project Cars? Yeah, so
they could. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm looking at it hypothetically from the standpoint that if it was another console out there to compete with the Xbox and the PlayStation, what would that mean for us, the consumers? So that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Yeah, and I agree. And I hope Google does get in. We've seen their tech being tested, so. And it did very well. It was 1080, 1080p, 60 with Assassin's Creed. And it was running at 60 frames per second where everybody else was running at 30. So that's their selling point is we can give you this at 60 frames per second. And again, there's a lot of people, and I can't blame them, and who don't want a game on PC. That's just a fact. They don't want to, and I understand it. Look, because there's a lot of stuff that comes with it. There's just getting it up and running, and then getting you this is if you build one, getting a keyboard for it, getting a mouse for it. That's a pain in the ass. I'll be keeping it 100%. It's a pain in the ass, but I remember something that shout out to BG Broken Gamers. He made a very good point a couple of years ago, and he is right. It is more expensive to get in to the PC market, but once you're in it, it's cheaper. It's hard to understand that, but when they're like, you can get the same games for that we're paying $60 for, you can get them for $35, on PC. Now you may have to wait. Let me make that clear. You may have to wait. You may not play it day and day, but it is what it is, So it can be a pain in the ass updating drivers and making sure parts are matching each other. And the PC community, they help me out a lot. But yeah, I can understand why. But I'm looking forward to what Microsoft is going to do. I'm not going to speculate on it. It's just when they come out with it, I'll be the first one to do a podcast. Like, yeah, check it out. Here's what they're doing. Here's what they're not doing. Here's what this is capable of. Here's what they say it's not going to do. So that's the way I'm doing my podcast. It's just to stay away from the rampant speculation. I mean, some of speculation is fun. I'll be speculating about movies coming out in 2019. I know that. But yeah, all this stuff is just we have to wait on Microsoft and we have to wait on Sony and Google, and we'll get our answers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Respond to a couple of comments real quick. Sarah says, great. You think it's going to be a smoke screen that's not going to take off?
That's very possible.
Yeah, and uncompetitive Madbox comes with a free dev kit, same as is used for Project Cars, which I did forget to mention that I guess developers, they're trying to entice developers to get on board by letting them let them use a free let them have a free dev kit, whatever the case may be, the same one that was used for Project Cars. So I don't know, myself, I hope it takes off. I hope it takes off, but we'll have to see. Who was it that said something about the Sega, the Razor? Yeah, I've seen Garuda Legends. I saw that prototype for the Razor. I think in so many terms, people said that it was a PC. I guess they were looking to present this to Sega, and if Sega approves it, then there's your new, I guess not the Sega Razor. I'm thinking of the Spartan. The Spartan that was presented to Sega. So, but in any case, whatever they come out with, if they come out with something, I hope Sega does choose to get back into the console space. But I wouldn't hold my breath on it, but I would love to see them get back in the console space. I do think they made a lot of compelling games. The Dreamcast is one of my favorite consoles of all time. So, hope for the best.
Yeah. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, if they can do streaming at 1080p 60, that's something that a lot of people are going to buy. I mean, make no mistake about it. But we have to see if they can do it. And but Google's off to a good start. They've got workable technology, and if anybody can get it to work, it's them. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're engineers. All these people I understand that. I mean, Google, if they really want to get in they're a threat to Microsoft, a direct threat. Because they do search, so does Microsoft. They do tablets, so does Microsoft. They do a lot of the same things. Whereas that's just the reality. And Google is the most, as far as growth rate, Google is the fastest growing, I think, company in U.S. history. As far as the growth rate per millionaire, the people who drive the buses, the trams at Google, the first two guys that did that, they are millionaires. The cooks that started there, millionaires, so, I'm talking about the guys that were driving because they had a parking lot like 2 miles off of campus, and they had to hire some guys to do tram, to take people back and forth to work, and those guys were just part-time, and, they split their shifts. And they had no benefits. And next thing you know, the tram had 4 people, then it had 10 people, then it had 20 people. They we need more buses out here, So, but honestly, getting back to gaming, if anybody can make something like that work, it's Google. Or they could get it to work and then sell it to Microsoft and then be partnered with Microsoft. There's a chance that could happen because they're both working on the same type of technology. So it could be first one to the green light. So we have to wait and see, because it's not like Google won't sell it. They're like, yeah, we'll sell it at this much, and we'll be your partner. or you can do it without us, and we'll put ours out, and it's much better than yours.
Yeah. So before we move on to the next subject, let me respond to a couple of comments. Jemiah Dixon, what do you think of Sony coming attractions video? All the big AAA first-party games were in it. I have not seen this video, Jemiah Dixon. I didn't even bother to watch it because we all know, for the most part, know which heavy hitters are coming from Sony in 2019. The big question that seems to be on everybody's mind is whether they'll push The Last of Us 2 back far enough that will, kind of cross over to the next generation for if that's going to bridge the gap between this generation and next generation. If that's, if The Last of Us 2 is going to be an in-between game, what have you. So I really didn't see any point in watching that video because we all, for the most part, know what's coming. But I'll eventually get around to watching it. And then Cirrus is great. I say this because the market is already overcrowded with Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. There's never been room for a fourth platform that worked. I would agree with that, but I still hold on to the belief that we need competition. If a fourth platform can get in there and make some waves and it gets Sony's and Microsoft's attention, then it'll keep them in place. And then they'll continue to try to give us value for our money to keep us in their ecosystem. So that's more or less the reason why I want another platform in the gaming space. So
didn't Nintendo release a statement about them getting out of console? They're going to go more mobile. I mean, I could have swore I saw that somewhere. Maybe I was dreaming.
With Nintendo?
Yes, they were going space and going more mobile. They were going to concentrate more on mobile than home console.
You think they could? You think they might keep that formula with the Switch and and keep it handheld? Keep it handheld, but work mobile into that.
Yeah, why not? It's working. I mean, all the people think of all the people that came out and said Nintendo didn't know what they were doing. They don't have enough power. Nobody's going to buy it, only to have it be extremely successful.
The crazy part about it is, imagine how many Nintendo Switches would have been out there if they would have sold this thing for $200.
Yeah. Yeah. And look at all the people. Shout out to all the people who said that they were going to buy Super Lucky's Tale on the Nintendo Switch when it comes out.
Well, I can see Super Lucky's Tale doing okay on the Nintendo Switch, given that they play games like Mario. I can see that, but I think the Xbox and the PlayStation is supposed to be consoles for people who favor more adult themed content. So I don't really feel like Super Lucky's Tale had much of a chance on the Xbox anyway. So
yeah, good point. Yeah,
and then you advertising this game in 4K, and because Crackdown 3 was delayed, you act like this game was supposed to be the reason why you're supposed to pick up an Xbox One X, because that was the last game. I believe that was the last game that released before the Xbox One X launched. After the Xbox One X launched, I think the next game that came out of Microsoft, if you want to call it that, was that broken PUBG.
Yeah, which I'm glad PUBG's back. So PlayStation saved PUBG, and so shout out to the people on PlayStation that bought it, because a lot of people bought it. So shout out to those people that bought it and are playing it. I see people doing streams on it and things like that. So shout out to them for that. So, yeah, I'm cracking up that Super Lucky's Tale is and yes, I know it's made by Playful Games, but Microsoft published that game first party. Okay, they published it first party. Now it's going to another console, and I know it's similar to what happened with Mass Effect 1, because that was created by BioWare, published by Microsoft. If you boot Mass Effect up right now, Mass Effect 1, it will say Microsoft Studios. So, and that game did go to PlayStation. So I understand that, but I think this is the first of many. Like Thanos said, the end is near. So, So I just think the end is near, and I think you're seeing a lot more acceptance from the Xbox community. They're trying to bring in how there's more mobile gamers in the world than console gamers, and blah blah blah. Nothing matters. Yeah, I was back and forth on Twitter with this cat this morning talking about that. Talk about my mom plays solitaire on her tablet. I'm like, do you consider her a gamer? You know, because she's not just sitting there playing solitaire for maybe 30 minutes when she's waiting for something to get done on the stuff.
That's amazing because, 2 years ago, if you would have said anything to the Xbox about that Microsoft should get involved in mobile gaming, they would have told you they were nuts because they were still trying to plead their case that Microsoft had the better exclusives. I mean, wasn't it only less than a year ago that they were trying to compare Sea of Thieves to God of War, swearing up and down that was a better game than God of War, and now here we are. They have a wide acceptance that Microsoft could be going mobile. So that's just where I'm going with. They just follow. They're just sheep following. Following the leader. Whatever the Emperor Phil Spencer tells them, that's what they follow. If 2 years ago you would have mentioned,
you're right.
You're
right. Mm-hmm. Good points.
I mean, because it was only 2 years ago that the Xbox One X hadn't even come out yet, but Phil Spencer was talking about the world's most powerful console. So you had the Xbox screaming that, the beast is coming, blah, blah, blah. PlayStation people were scared of the X, all that kind of stuff. Now they're talking about mobile gaming.
Yeah.
And how Microsoft doesn't like one console. What a total flip-flop. So
yeah. Well, again, they're more worried on waking up tomorrow morning and it'd be business breaking news that Microsoft has sold Xbox, the part of their company that is Xbox, to somebody else. So if they think that Xbox can make money, that's why last year when Porter Rock, everybody knows Porter Rock's famous bet with Jabba Jabba the Hod, and he reneged on it. Mm-hmm. But okay, but what's amazing about that is the show where it was time to pay off the bet was there was somebody, he was an Xbot, and he was literally saying, look how much money Microsoft is making. Look at how much money everybody's making. They switched it back over to money. But again, the reason that some of them did was because they don't want Xbox to leave. I mean, a lot of them were using that as their social hub. That's what, that's just reality. I go outside, but they don't. They come home and they put on a headset. They call in the B2, and that's their social hub. That's where their friends are. That's what they'll say. I have friends who are online. It's kind of like, well, I mean, friends. Oh boy, your friends will ride and die with you. But they'll say, I've been playing with those guys since 2009 or whatever, 2010. They don't want to break up that camaraderie. They don't want to let it go. So it's like their social hub. When I was playing on the Xbox, when I had one, I had people, when I was playing games, I was physically playing games. There were people trying to just contact me to talk. I'm like, what do you want? What do you want? Play your games. So
absolutely.
Play your games. If I'm on PlayStation, I don't anticipate somebody that's on my PlayStation friends list to contact me to want to talk. I mean, contact me to play a game, yes. But to talk, no. What are we going to talk about? I mean, there's something that's really bothering you. Okay, but damn, give me a call at that point. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it's just a lot of them use it for their social hub. It's about the money. You're right. When Phil the Emperor comes out and has his robe on, his shoes on, he said, "Here's what we're going to do." They're like, "Yeah, that's it," and Sony's going to have to follow him, and it's kind of like, "Oh, okay, it's just all right." It's kind of the way they think. They're like little puppies. You want to rub them and pet them on their bellies and give them a doggy bone and let them go away.
Exactly. Yeah. So moving on to the next subject. In the midst of all this stuff that's been going on with Bethesda, with the Nuka Dark rum, with there being an actual bottle, with the Nuka Dark rum, the black bottle that people thought was a bottle was actually a plastic casing over a regular bottle. So, and the thing was $80, and a lot of people are upset about that, more or less because they wanted this Nuka Dark rum to basically be a collector's item. So they thought this black, rocket looking bottle was an actual matte finish bottle. So we know the situation with the duffel bag. People have been informed that they could take 4 to 6 months before they get their bag. They implemented egregious microtransactions. They lied when they implemented these microtransactions, and they acted like these microtransactions that they put in there were on sale when they, how can something go on sale when it's the first time it's been put in there, so they lied there. And so Elder Scrolls 6 is supposed to run on the same engine as Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And according to some analysts, Bethesda could be rushing Elder Scrolls 6 out this year in order to make up for the goals that they fell short on to investors.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, this is coming from the Quartering, and I think a couple of other YouTubers covered it, but the Quartering was the one that I got it from. And so they haven't resolved this broken Fallout 76 situation, and they're still going to use the same engine from Fallout 76 for the Elder Scrolls 6. And they're talking about putting this game out this year. What would you make of something like that happening?
Wouldn't shock me. I'm interested in Elder Scrolls, but I like Oblivion and Skyrim. I'm not for sure what Elder Scrolls is, so what it's about. I know it's an MMO, right? Like you were just saying, like there's a bunch of people online playing.
I'm not sure because Skyrim is the only Bethesda game that I've ever owned that I can think of. The Skyrim VR, which I played that for about 10 minutes. Nothing was wrong with the game. It was just something that I was doing for for viewers. They had asked me to give that game a shot, so I played it and streamed it for about a half hour, whatever the case may be. But other than that, no, I really don't have. I've never really played any Bethesda's game, so you would know better than I do about them being online. I guess that didn't go over very well with Fallout 76, so they think Elder Scrolls 6 is basically a disaster waiting to happen.
Well, how are the other Elder Scrolls games?
I know that I know Oblivion went over pretty well with people. I know that was a big
I love that. Yeah, I love that game.
But that's about all I know. Uncompetitive, you basically said where I might be going with this. That Bethesda will go out of business.
Wow.
I think this very well could happen because how could a company do so many egregious things in such a short amount of time? The stuff that they've done is just coming out of nowhere. And
well, it's just they had they had a bad quarter with the Fallout 76. But to me, it's like they were honest with people. They said the game was broken, but people still went out and bought it. And it's just like, all right, now the whole suitcase thing with the rum. Did they sell real rum? Is that what you're saying?
There was a real bottle of rum in there, but everybody that's complaining about it didn't buy it for the rum. They bought it for a collector's item because they thought.
Oh, that's not Bethesda's fault, though. They can't help what you think. This is why you should research what you're buying. Dark rum that shit's expensive. You know that shit. You know we like the dark rum.
Mm-hmm.
We know our stuff. So, but man, that's crazy. I don't get it.
They didn't. So from what I'm hearing, gamers don't have people who bought it don't have a problem with the price of it. They don't have a problem with it costing $80. They just had a problem with the bottle, that black bottle being a plastic cover because they wanted it for a collector's item.
People are dumb, man. That's all I can say, man. I can't. Well, P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute.
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, how many of those people you think are going to be suckers when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out? That brings me to something that I said before, that I think that Bethesda is going to try to sell Elder Scrolls 6 with an apologetic campaign. I think they're going to apologize for the disaster that Fallout 76 was. I think they're going to promise to be more transparent in the future. I think they're going to try to lull gamers into thinking that there won't be egregious microtransactions in the game, that it won't be so grindy, all that kind of stuff. So I think they're going to try to sell Elder Scrolls 6 off of promising not to make the same mistakes they did with Fallout 76. So what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess this don't release a. The thing is that Fallout 76 was broken. They told you it was broken. People still went out and bought it. That's not their fault. I mean, that's like me saying, well, I'll sell you my TV, but if the screen don't work and you come buy it, you go home and complain. You know, they told people the game didn't work good. And maybe people bought it thinking they were going to patch a bunch of, because that's what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda. That's what happened. People bought the game thinking, okay, BioWare will just patch it and it will be like we had, and we didn't get that and people got mad. It's like, okay, look, the engine's the engine. But yeah, I hope for their sake they don't go out of business, because I like Bethesda's games. I like Fallout. I didn't like New Vegas, and I didn't like Fallout 4 as much as Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 to me is a classic. It won over 100 awards, so it's a classic game. Oblivion to me is a great game. Skyrim, I think, is a very good game. So I don't think Skyrim is as good as Oblivion, but it's not horrible. It's not a horrible game. But yeah, I hope they don't go nowhere. They also publish Wolfenstein, don't they? I think they're the ones publishing.
Yes, they do. There's also a VR Wolfenstein game also. So.
Oh, okay.
It was something that I was interested in, but I don't know if I want to touch it now because of my disdain for Bethesda and what they've been doing. I'm beginning to wonder if Elder Scrolls. I think right now, if Bethesda could be on shaky ground, and they are a company that could very well go out of business and end up closing their doors a couple of years from now, they are aware of it. So with that being said, I'm beginning to wonder if Elder Scrolls 6 could be one last fuck you for the road before they close the doors.
Well, they're doing a Wolfenstein publishing wise. So I hope you're wrong. But because I like the games coming out of there. That's one of the. I remember playing Fallout 3 on the Xbox 360, and just having a smile on my face the whole time I was playing it. Just, once I understood how I was supposed to play the game, like I always try to play games. I'm like, okay, I'm playing it a certain way, and I have to figure out how the developer wants me to play it. You can enjoy it more. And once I figured out what they wanted me to do in Fallout, how to play, I barely enjoyed it. So, but at the end of the day, I hope they don't go anywhere. So all I can do is hope you're wrong.
Yeah, but at the same time, even there's a part of me that wish I was wrong too. But at the same time, I don't think a launch for Elder Scrolls 6 is very promising, because I think a lot of people are going to be apprehensive about Elder Scrolls 6 given this Fallout 76 debacle. So I just don't think it's a good situation to be in. So
yeah. Well, like I said, I hope you're wrong.
We'll see. This is definitely a soap opera that we're gonna have to stay tuned to see how it plays out. So moving on to my next subject, because I only got a couple of more left. I only got like two more, including this one. I've got about 3 subjects left, and this one is huge because I meant to Thug Nasty, he said he's going to the gym. Well, where you at? I need a spot. I got you, bro. I got you. Go ahead and push that 400. I got you.
Damn.
As big as Captain Thug Nasty says he is, I'm not. If he can bench that much, I'm not surprised.
Damn,
I think he weighs about 250. So
okay.
If he gets out, he should be able to push that much. I mean, I can't push that much anymore, but just 3 years ago, I was 5'9", 225 pounds, and I was benching 305. So I'm not exactly, so I'm not, if he can bench that kind of weight, I'm not surprised by it. But moving on to our next subject, this is a subject that I wanted to do a video on last night, but I fell asleep and wasn't able to get it done. So I guess I'll talk about that here on this podcast. and that is analysts are predicting that the next generation of Xboxes will support VR. So my video was going to be called "The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Xbox VR Support." So real quick, I'll give the good part. Well, we'll start with the bad part of Xbox getting into the VR scene. First of all, I do not really tip my hat off to Microsoft for finally getting on board with VR, because they promised it back at E3 of 2017, and despite all the theories going around, I seriously believe that Microsoft backed off of VR because they saw what a slow start that Sony has, proving once again that they will not put their hands on something unless they know that money's to be made on it. They won't take a chance on something and let it grow. They'll jump into something when it's hot and while it's still making money. VR is on the rise now. Sony is the market leader now. The way things were looking, next generation, the VR market was Sony's to lose, and I think it's still that way. But I think Microsoft sees what's going on over there, that VR is slowly growing, that Sony is the market leader, and they stand to make all the money by themselves. So now they are finally wanting to get on board to get a piece of that money. I think that is the bad. I think the good of it is that with Microsoft getting on board with VR, VR is guaranteed to live. VR is guaranteed to stay alive.
Hold on real quick. No, keep talking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So that is the good of Microsoft getting involved in VR.
I saw your text. Okay.
Because that will only make VR grow. I think that no, Robert Evans, I did not see the Lenovo headset. I do understand that the Sony has given Lenovo the license next generation to make their own headset, based off the design of the PlayStation VR 2 headset. But getting back to the good of Microsoft being in VR, like I said, it is good because it guarantees that VR will not die, that it's not going anywhere, that it will only continue to grow. And then when developers see that there is an entire additional platform on board with VR, that gives them another revenue, that gives them another avenue to make revenue, and it will motivate them more to want to add VR modes to games. So I think that will further solidify that we could see more third-party developers getting on board with VR when they know that it's Sony has the majority of the VR market, and now that Microsoft's going to get in there, if they can make some compelling games, they can make a splash in the VR market as well. So that would be more appealing to third-party publishers. The ugly of VR support with Microsoft getting on board with that is that, for one thing, we will have to listen to Xbox talk about Microsoft is leading the way for VR. Microsoft is revolutionizing VR. We'll have to listen to that rhetoric. And then if VR does happen to grow on the level that I would like to see it grow, we stand the possibility of third-party publishers bringing their egregious microtransactions over to the VR format if it happens to grow the way I hope it does. So that is an ugly truth that could happen a few years from now.
Yeah.
So what's your take on Microsoft getting involved in VR?
That's fine. They said they were going to have it first party on the X, and they didn't follow through. I personally believe it's because they didn't move enough consoles to, and they didn't have the money. Hell, they were cutting back on stuff. They weren't going to add, like you said. And I thought maybe they could make Oculus. I thought they were going to go ahead and just kind of merge Oculus with the Xbox. Say, yeah, you can play it, but I don't think they ever did. So it's we'll have to wait and see. And I certainly hope they get into it. What will be amazing is, these dudes are like they biscuits buttery. Watch how fast they start buttering their biscuits if and when Microsoft does come out and say they're going to support VR. They'll go from attacking Sony's VR, because that's what they've been doing, to say, oh, well, Microsoft, they'll do it better. You'll see. This buttery sips, and just it's good that they've been exposed, and people just kind of kick back and laugh. They just kick back and laugh at them now. But yeah, I certainly hope they follow through. And I know Aaron Greenberg, I think this the last year in the fall, was saying they still plan on doing VR. So that's great news. Great news.
Okay. Yeah. So, I've got two more subjects, and then we can go ahead and wrap it up. Because I thought you would end up being long gone before I got this podcast over with, but we are nearing the end.
That was No, sorry to interrupt you. That was them calling. They'll be here. They said in like 15 more minutes. So I'm like, okay. So
Okay. So then it's very well possible that you could end up having to take off when we're in the middle of the last subject. But getting to the next subject real quick, the Dreams beta. I think I'm really excited about the Dreams beta. I have no intentions of creating any games on the Dreams beta, but I want to see what kind of games people can create. I want to see what kind of VR games people can create. So in a sense, depending on, you very well could be getting huge bang for the buck with people jumping in here, making developing games for the Dreams game, and you have access to all those games. And Amiris, and it's funny that you just made a comment, because you were definitely one of the people that I was thinking of when I learned that you could make your own games. King Thrash Gaming, what is up? Amiris was definitely one of the people that I was thinking of when I learned of the Dreams beta, the Dreams that you can make games in there. I would love to see what you could come up with. I hope you get in there and get your hands on it and create some VR games. I would love to see that. What do you think of the Dreams beta? And the possibilities are endless, and people can make their own games. How do you think that's going to end up?
Oh, Dreams?
Yeah.
It's got really good potential. I'm like you. I don't know if I'll buy it, but I am looking forward to some of the streams on what the more because I can barely draw. I can draw stick people. So when I saw some of that demo, I'm like, man, no way. So I don't know if they can make it user friendly, and then it may be a Black Friday buy for me. It may be something that I look into on that matter. Or if somebody wink, wink, nod, nod wants to buy it for me, I'll do it. But yeah, I'm interested just to see how other people use it. Just because everybody again, I saw the demo and it was really cool. But I can't do what they were doing.
So, yeah, without a doubt. I think the Dreams game is basically an audition for hopeful developers. I think this is your chance to shine, because Sony even said it, and so much in a release that that this is developers' chance to to make games. And there's no way Sony's going to make a game like this that's going to entice hopeful developers to get on board with this and not keep an eye on people. Sony's going to be watching this, because they're probably going to handpick a couple of these people out of this game to join Sony's development team. I really think that's going to happen. So I think this game is a big audition for people who want to be developers. So I think if anybody has hopes of becoming a developer, I think this is your avenue to be discovered by a major company that people seem to like working for. So I can't wait for this game. I can't wait to see how creative people are going to be with this game.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And the last subject that I could come up with is, according to Foxy Games UK, he was talking to an anonymous source at Sony, and this source was telling him that Sony could subsidize the PS5 and sell it at a loss, which we know that's nothing new in the console space, that they rely on the royalty money that they get. They rely on that money. And according to this source, the money that they make from royalties, as well as the money that they make from PlayStation Now, would pretty much offset the loss they would take for selling the console below what it takes to manufacture it. With that being said, there's a very good possibility that Sony could sell the PS5 at $400. If that was the case, what kind of pressure do you think that would put on Microsoft in this so-called Anaconda console rumored?
I think Microsoft will have a couple SKUs, and one will be less powerful than the PS5, and the other one will be more powerful. And because it's going to be more powerful, it's going to be more expensive. I didn't believe, just based on what I've been told, Sony is going to produce another SKU that will be more powerful than the Anaconda, and it will be just as expensive and not a little bit more, because Sony's always produced, at least for the last few cycles, at least minimum of two. And if you want to count, like I told people, you want to count the PlayStation Mini and the that little one that just came out with, and then the 500 million. If you want to count those as new SKUs, fine. The Slim, there wasn't a whole lot difference between the Slim and the regular and the other PS4 that came out in 13. So, but if you want to count that as a brand new SKU, fine. That means they produced 5 SKUs this generation. So along with the Pro. So I think they're going to produce at least 2 SKUs. But I think the pressure will be tremendous if it's going to be $400 out the door. That's that's big time. But I do think Microsoft's going to have 2 to 3 different SKUs.
Okay, so you're convinced that Anaconda is going to launch at no less than $600?
I don't know if it could be. I mean, if it's going to support VR, I'm just saying it could be. Once you throw in VR, you're looking at that could be another $200. I mean, if you get a VR, a first-party VR with it. So, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the PS5 at $400, if they did a PS5 Pro, and it would come out we're talking 3 years down the road. So let's say PS5 hits in 2020, and then PS5 Pro hits 2023, 2024. You're looking at at another $500-600. But I don't think they're going to sit idly by while Microsoft King Kongs their chest saying we have the world's most powerful console. I think they'll let it go for a little, because right now the Xbox X is more powerful than the Pro, but the PS4 is more powerful than the Xbox One S. So with that said, they're willing to let it go right now, but I do think they're going to have one to rule them all, so to speak, and that'll be PS5. But they're both going to do the same thing. Let me make that clear. They're both going to do the same thing. It's like the equivalent of having a 1070 Ti and a Vega 64 or 56. They both do the exact same things. 4K 60 on the games.
Okay, so with that being said, if the PS5 comes out at $400 and Anaconda comes out at $500, we could have a repeat of the current generation where the PlayStation ends up kicking the Xbox's ass because they are identical consoles, but one of them is $100 cheaper. Yeah, Thrash, what is going on, my man? What is going on? I see that you in Arizona with the wife. Make sure y'all have a safe trip back, man, and looking forward to you getting back and making a video. I can't wait to see what your next video is gonna be.
Yeah, and King Thrash, big ups on that upload with Perfect Dark. Shout out to you, reminding everybody that was a Nintendo game, and when Microsoft ended up buying it. I don't know if they bought Rare, if they just bought that IP, but Microsoft said, no, you're not going to make this game for Nintendo. You're going to make it for us. Because, again, these watery simps act like they can't do the same thing with Hellblade and these other games coming out on the studios that they bought. So they could do it then, but they're not going to do it. They're going to let their first-party studios put games on the competing console. So, but with that said, as far as putting the pressure on, if they can sell at 400, that's doing everything that it's allegedly going to be able to do at possibly 9.4 to 10.2 T-flops. Yeah. That's pretty impressive. I don't know if they can, but we'll have to wait and see.
Okay. I'm still listening to you, Craig. When I looked at Thrash comments where he said, thanks, my fellow Wakandans. I've been telling him.
Shout out to King Thrash.
Without a doubt. In the mirrors, without a doubt, I would love to talk to you later and see, and talk to you about the Dreams game. I would love to see what kind of ideas you have and see if you're going to get on board with that. I would absolutely love to chat it up with you later on today, and so we can talk about Dreams and what you got planned, and some of these ideas that you're conceptualizing.
Yeah, there you go. But I don't know, 400 for what they're allegedly going to bring is that seems a little cheap. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to do it at that. But hey, we'll find out here probably, like I said, in about 20 months. We'll know. I mean, you'll have a definite. You'll be able to go to the store, and you got people saying it's going to come out this year. So you might be going to the store in a few, at the end of the year and buying.
Whatever it is, the PS5 is definitely a day one purchase for me. Yeah. I'm just hoping that I don't think it'll happen. I think it won't come out until like a year later, but it's just me having wishful thinking, hoping that the PSVR, the new generation of the PSVR will be ready to go day and date beside the console, but I doubt it.
Yeah, you have to wait and see. And I guess if you want to count the VR, that's another SKU. So if you want to count, that's like 6 SKUs, that Sony has had this generation. So it cracks me up when I hear people say there's only going to be one version of the PS5. That's just based on the history that Sony has gotten. They're going to release multiple SKUs. So that's what and again, shout out to Lou Waffle, because that's who was telling me. He said, why does everybody think Sony only is going to put out one system? And I said, I couldn't answer. I mean, I had to sit back and just listen. He said, because if you look at what they've done this generation, you had the PS4, then you had the Slim, then you had the Pro, then you had the VR system, then you had the Mini, the little bitty PS1, whatever you want to call it. Then you had their 500 million one. So that's 5 to 6 SKUs. He said, so minimum, they're going to probably put out 2 SKUs. And he said, if you want to throw in VR, that's 3 SKUs. So he said, so I would expect them to do a PlayStation 5, a VR, and then following up with another PlayStation 5 type of system. This is going to be the most powerful system. And that point, it will either be the same specs plus 1 or 2 extra something than Anaconda. But they're going to put pressure on Microsoft to bring Anaconda out sooner than later.
I absolutely agree with that. Andrew Wilkins, you said the PS5 will not be $400. I've been right about hardware price predictions. Now, here's the thing, Andrew Wilkins, keep in mind that Sony is still trying to sell the console. That the console is still the majority. The most of Sony's eggs are in the PlayStation basket, whereas Microsoft is trying to sell the service, and not so much the console. And Xbox, the Xbox division is definitely not the main source of revenue for Microsoft. So, Sony, I think they probably feel that it's essential to maintain their lead in their majority of the gaming space. So I think it's very well possible that the PS5 could launch for $400.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying it just for what all the stuff it's going to be able to allegedly do. I'll see if it does that. I'll be like, whoa, I'll be surprised. It wouldn't shock me, but I just think with everything it can do, it's going to be a $500 console. With that said, it's going to have a whole lot of stuff it can do. It's just, it's so people can, and I've always said you can still get it. If you have a Pro, they're going to probably have some type of trade-in, like, put your Pro towards the new PS5, get $150. So if there's a $500 console, and then you getting $150 off, you walking out at $350, maybe a little bit more dollars, which isn't bad. Then if you say, well, I love my Pro, all right, fine. You love your Pro. You can still go out in a couple of weeks and go get another Pro. It's not like you won't be able to go buy one. Just go buy another Pro. You might be able to buy one that's a theme console at that point, like me. If I get the PS5, that's what I plan on doing. I'm like, I'll trade my Pro in on it, and then I'll get it, and then I'll get a theme console Pro, whether that be Spider-Man or whatever, and I'll get one with a theme console. I would like the one with the Darth Vader on it, just to have that one. Maybe I can find that one somewhere. But actually, really, once you start playing your games at 60 frames per second versus not like that on the other places, you're going to switch. That's I play Far Cry at over 100 frames a second, or close to with 98 or 102 on a PC, and it totally blew me away. The differences, the mechanical differences, the way everything was working, the speed, it felt more natural. So and I'm not dissing. I like RPGs. I don't think RPGs need to run at 60 frames a second. It's an RPG, but
right.
Something like a Far Cry, and imagine playing Metal Gear, the Metal Gear 5. I think that was 1080p 60 at the time. It was like a big deal, and imagine trying to play that at 30 frames a second.
Right, but I think but it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that with VR support, this is probably going to have to be pretty powerful, especially with Sony believing that a higher frame rate will alleviate motion sickness. So I would like to think that they've got a pretty powerful console in mind with that mentality towards VR.
Yeah. That will definitely help cut down on motion sickness. So people can still get dizzy, but it'll be for something else. And you get dizzy for a bunch. I was working out yesterday and got first time on the treadmill in a while, and kind of had that funny feeling, but push through it. So this is excited.
There's no way. Hey, hate to say it, but thanks to PlayStation VR, I may not never get on a treadmill again. I've been playing I haven't been streaming it, but I played Beat Saber 3 days straight, and I burned a ton of calories. I mean, I played it like 2 hours, 3 days in a row, and it is just an amazing way to burn some calories and have some fun while you're at it, because treadmills are boring. And then with the kind of workout regimen that I had, where I would work out about 5 times a week and I'm working 6 days a week, and then you try to throw in going to the gym and spending 2 hours on the treadmill about 3 or 4 times.
Hey, bro, I gotta go. They're here. Okay. But shout out to you. Thanks for having me on, and peace out. Everybody, keep it gaming.
All right, no doubt. Thanks to my guest, Craig Harris, for coming through. Definitely appreciate it. And I think we got Live from Wakanda off to an amazing start. And I definitely like the way this turned out. And I definitely want to do this again, and with having multiple subjects to talk about, I can say what I think and then move on to the next subject versus previous podcasts that I've done where I spent about 2 hours talking about one subject, and it put me in a position where I'm just stretching a subject out longer than I need to, just to kill time and that kind of stuff. Doing it under this format, I think I can get right to the nuts and bolts of what I want to say, and then move on to the next subject. So I definitely like this format. So I think Live from Wakanda was a success, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one next week. And again, with the gaming industry, there's never a shortage of news. So I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of stuff to talk about next week as well. So with that being said, we are going to get ready to close the Invisible Dome. And I want to thank everybody for coming to Wakanda. My guards will give everybody parting gifts on your way out. And may you have a safe journey home. Give it a like. Am I going to stream today, Mr. Pye? Without a doubt, I'm definitely going to stream something today. And I don't know if it's going to be, Beat Saber or Firewall, which I've been, having fun with that again. Robert Evans, thank you so much. Mr. Pyle, I have been getting through some of these songs on Expert on Beat Saber. Not exactly, good grade, but I've been getting through some of these songs. But I'll definitely do some kind of stream later on today. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming by Wakanda. My guards will show you to your shuttles, and may you have a safe flight home. And we will see you again next week, on Live from Wakanda. Make sure you give it a like, lock the door on your way out. And I definitely want to thank everybody for visiting Wakanda. I will see you guys later. You guys have a good one. Enjoy your Sunday.